High Admiral Vextar stood before the massive viewing screen on his command ship. The blue planet called Earth hung in the darkness of space like a small jewel. For 100 years, his people had watched this world. For 100 years, they had studied the creatures that lived on it. The humans were weak. This much was clear to everyone in the Vorthan Empire. "Show me the data again," Vextar said to his second-in-command, General Crixon. The holographic display came to life around them. Images of humans filled the air. They showed humans dancing, singing, and playing games. They showed humans crying at sad movies and laughing at silly jokes. They showed humans hugging their children and feeding small animals. "Look at this," General Crixon pointed to one image. "They spend more time on entertainment than on military training. Their soldiers practice for only a few hours each day. The rest of their time is wasted on personal activities." Vextar nodded. His four eyes studied the data carefully. The humans had over 200 different countries on their planet. Each country had its own army. They could not agree on anything. They fought small wars among themselves over resources and land. "Their weapons are primitive," another officer reported. "They still use metal bullets and simple energy shields. Our technology is at least 500 years ahead of theirs." The Vorthan had been preparing for this invasion since they first discovered Earth. They had sent small probe ships to watch the humans. The probes looked like space rocks, so the humans never noticed them. These probes recorded everything. They watched human cities grow. They saw human armies train. They learned human languages. Some probe ships had even captured humans who were traveling in space. The Vorthan scientists studied these humans in their labs. They learned about human biology, human psychology, and human weaknesses. "The humans are too emotional," the chief scientist, Dr. Yexrin, explained to the War Council. "They make decisions based on feelings instead of logic. In battle, they will panic when they see our superior forces." Dr. Yexrin had studied 50 captured humans over the decades. Each one had told the same story about Earth's defenses. The humans had simple space stations around their planet. They had basic missile systems. Their strongest weapons could barely damage a Vorthan scout ship. Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Li Jiho sat in his command chair on the space station New Sol. The station orbited Earth like a metal moon. Through the large windows, he could see his home planet turning slowly below him. "Captain," his communications officer, Lieutenant Yoon Sura, called out. "We're getting those strange readings again from the edge of the solar system." Li Jiho had been seeing these readings for months. Small objects that appeared and disappeared on their sensors. The objects were too far away to investigate properly. Most people thought they were just space rocks or equipment errors. But Li Jiho was not most people. He had been trained in Earth's most secret programs. He knew things that even his own crew did not know. "Keep monitoring them," he told Yoon Sura. "Record everything." Down on Earth, Dr. Kim Nari worked in her laboratory under the city of Seoul. Her lab was buried deep underground where no satellites could see it. She studied pieces of strange metal that had been found in space over the years. The metal was not made by humans. It was too advanced, too perfect. The molecular structure was unlike anything found on Earth. Dr. Kim Nari had spent 10 years learning its secrets. She had discovered something important about this alien metal. It was strong against heat and bullets, but it had a weakness. When exposed to certain quantum frequencies, the metal became unstable. It would stop working completely. Dr. Kim Nari had shared this discovery with a very small group of people. People who worked for organizations that did not officially exist. People who had been preparing for something that most humans thought would never happen. Colonel Park Min-ho was one of those people. He commanded Earth's Rapid Response Division from a base that looked like a simple military training facility. Tourists sometimes drove past it on the highway. They saw soldiers doing normal exercises and thought nothing of it. But deep under the base, Colonel Park Min-ho trained a very different kind of soldier. These soldiers learned to use weapons that were not in any official military manual. They practiced fighting techniques designed specifically for enemies that were not human. "The day is coming soon," Colonel Park Min-ho told his officers during their daily briefing. "All our preparation will be tested." His officers nodded. They had been hearing similar words for years. Their parents had heard the same words. Their grandparents had heard them too. For 100 years, certain humans had been getting ready for a war that most people did not know was coming. Back in space, Admiral Vextar reviewed the final invasion plans with his fleet commanders. 10,000 ships waited in the darkness beyond Earth's solar system. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Together they could turn Earth's surface into glass. The humans will surrender quickly, General Creekson predicted. Our psychological profiles show they avoid conflict when facing superior forces. They will see our fleet and give up without fighting. The Vorthan had conquered 47 planets before Earth. Each conquest had followed the same pattern. The aliens would arrive with overwhelming force. The local population would realize they could not win. They would surrender to avoid destruction. What about their space defenses? A young commander asked. Minimal, Dr. Yexerin answered. They have perhaps 100 small stations and a few thousand basic fighters. Our advanced scouts alone could destroy them all. Vextar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Begin the final approach. Tomorrow we claim Earth for the Empire. As the alien fleet moved toward Earth, Captain Lee Jiho received a message on his personal communicator. The message contained only one word. Sunrise. Lee Jiho had been waiting for this message his entire career. He stood up from his command chair and walked to his private office. There he activated a communication system that did not appear on any of his station's official equipment lists. This is Sol Station. He spoke into the communicator. Sunrise received. Requesting confirmation for Dawn Protocol. A voice answered immediately. Confirmation granted. All units prepare for Dawn Protocol activation. The century of waiting is over. Across Earth, similar messages reach similar people. Dr. Kim Nari received hers while working late in her underground lab. Colonel Park Minho got his during a training exercise that looked routine, but was anything but. In government buildings, military bases, and research facilities around the world, humans began to move. They activated systems that had been hidden for decades. They sent coded messages through networks that officially did not exist. They prepared weapons that no alien probe had ever detected. The Vorthan fleet continued its approach, confident in their victory. They had studied humans for a century. They knew everything about Earth's defenses. They had planned for every possible human response. But there was one thing the Vorthan had not considered. What if everything they had learned about humans was exactly what the humans wanted them to learn? What if the century of observation had not been one-sided? What if the hunters had actually become the hunted without ever realizing it? High Admiral Vextar stood before his viewing screen, watching Earth grow larger as his fleet approached. He was about to learn the answer to questions he had never thought to ask. The invasion would begin in 18 hours. By Vorthan calculations, it would be over in less than a day. The Vorthan were very good at calculations. But they had never tried to calculate what happened when humans had 100 years to prepare for a fight, and chose to spend that time wisely. Tomorrow would be a day of many surprises. The morning sun was rising over Earth when the alien fleet appeared. 10,000 ships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. They arrived in perfect formation, their dark hulls blocking out stars. Lieutenant Yoon Sura was the first human to detect them. She was working her normal shift on the New Seoul space station when her sensors went crazy. "Captain Lee," she called out, her voice shaking slightly. "You need to see this." Captain Lee Jiho walked quickly to her station. The main screen showed the alien fleet arranged like a metal wall across space. Each ship was enormous, larger than Earth's biggest space stations. Their hulls glowed with strange energy patterns. "How many?" Lee Jiho asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. "Computer counts over 10,000 individual vessels," Yoon Sura reported. "Captain, some of those ships are bigger than our entire cities." Across Earth, every space monitoring station was seeing the same thing. The alien fleet was too large to hide, too powerful to ignore. In military command centers around the world, alarms began to sound. Admiral Choi Hyun was eating breakfast with his family when his emergency communicator activated. The small device had been silent for his entire 20-year career. Now it was screaming like an angry bird. "This is Admiral Choi," he answered as he ran to his car. "Sir, we have a massive alien fleet at the edge of our solar system, 10,000 plus ships. They're broadcasting a message." Admiral Choi drove faster than he had ever driven before. His wife called after him from their front door, but he could not stop to explain. There was no time. The message from the alien fleet reached Earth 30 minutes after their arrival. It came through every communication system on the planet: radio, television, internet, even emergency broadcasts. The voice spoke in broken human languages, switching between English, Chinese, Spanish, and others. "Humans of Earth," the alien voice said. "I am High Admiral Vextar of the Vorthan Empire. Your planet is now claimed by our forces. You have been studied for 100 years. We know your capabilities. We know your weaknesses. Resistance is meaningless." The message continued for 10 minutes. It listed Earth's military assets with surprising accuracy. It named human leaders and described their personalities. It even mentioned specific human weapons and their limitations. "You have 24 hours to surrender unconditionally," the message concluded. "If you comply, your species will be allowed to continue existing under Vorthan rule. If you resist, your cities will be destroyed and your population reduced to manageable levels." General Kang Wubin was in his office at Strategic Defense Command when the message played. He listened carefully to every word. The aliens knew too much about Earth's official military forces. They had clearly been watching for a long time. But General Kang noticed something interesting. The aliens talked about Earth's armies, navies, and air forces. They mentioned nuclear weapons and space defense platforms. They described human psychology and political divisions. What they did not mention were the things that did not officially exist. Dr. Kim Nari was in her underground laboratory when the message reached her. She paused her work on quantum frequency generators to listen. The aliens spoke about human technology with confidence. They seemed certain that Earth's weapons could not harm them. Dr. Kim Nari smiled. The aliens were probably right about human weapons. The official ones, anyway. Her laboratory computer chimed softly. A new message had arrived through the hidden communication network. The message contained coordinates and a simple instruction. "Activate all quantum disruption arrays. Stand by for field test authorization." Similar messages were reaching similar people around the world. In facilities that did not appear on any official maps, humans began powering up equipment that had been built in secret over many decades. Captain Lee Ji-ho received his orders while the alien message was still playing. The orders came through the quantum communication system that his crew did not know existed. "Sol Station, prepare for combat configuration." The orders read. "Activate stealth systems and hidden weapon arrays. Move to attack position 7 and await final authorization." Lee Ji-ho looked around his bridge. His crew was watching the alien message with worried expressions. They were good people, loyal and brave, but they did not know what Lee Ji-ho knew. "Attention, crew," Lee Ji-ho announced. "We are implementing Emergency Protocol 5. All non-essential personnel report to secure stations immediately." Emergency Protocol 5 was a real procedure that his crew had trained for. It involved preparing the station for possible attack. What his crew did not know was that Protocol 5 also activated systems that were not in their training manuals. As his crew moved to their emergency positions, Captain Lee Ji-ho entered a special code into his command console. The space station New Seoul began to change. Panels opened on the station's hull, revealing weapons that had been hidden inside what looked like communication arrays. The station's power core switched from civilian power to military-grade fusion reactors that were officially not there. Most importantly, the station activated a stealth field that made it nearly invisible to sensors. To anyone watching, the New Seoul space station seemed to simply fade away. Around Earth, similar transformations were taking place. Research stations became weapons platforms. Communication satellites revealed hidden missile systems. Even some commercial space facilities opened up to show military equipment that was not supposed to exist. The alien fleet began moving toward Earth 6 hours after delivering their ultimatum. High Admiral Vexitar was pleased with how quickly the humans were responding to his message. "Their communication networks are very active," reported his intelligence officer. "They are broadcasting emergency messages and moving their military forces." "Panic reactions," General Crixon observed. "Exactly as predicted. They are scrambling to organize some kind of defense, but they know it is hopeless." Admiral Vextar studied the readings from his long-range sensors. Earth's space defenses were moving into position around the planet. Small fighter craft were launching from hidden bases. Military installations were powering up their shields. Everything was happening exactly as the Vorthan war plans had predicted. "Their responses match our psychological profiles perfectly," Dr. Yexrin confirmed. "Humans faced with overwhelming odds will make desperate attempts to fight before surrendering. We should expect token resistance followed by capitulation. What the alien sensors did not show was the activity happening in places they had never learned about. Deep underground in facilities buried beneath mountains and under ocean floors, humans were activating systems that had been sleeping for decades. Commander Ryu Tech stood in one such facility, 3 miles beneath the Pacific Ocean. His command center looked like something from a science fiction movie. Hundreds of screens showed data streams that would have been impossible to understand just a few years ago. All Pacific Defense grid nodes are online, his technical officer reported. Quantum field generators are at full power. Stealth systems are operating within normal parameters. Commander Ryu had trained his entire life for this day. His father had trained for it too and had died never seeing it come. His grandfather had helped build the first hidden defense systems back when the alien probes were first detected. Begin Phase 1 of Dawn Protocol, Commander Ryu ordered. Authorization code, Sierra 7 Alpha Niner. Similar orders were being given in hidden command centers on every continent. In the mountains of Asia, under the deserts of Africa, beneath the ice of Antarctica, humans had spent a century preparing for this day. The alien fleet continued its approach to Earth. Their sensors detected exactly what they expected to detect. A primitive planet with basic defenses trying desperately to prepare for a hopeless fight. Admiral Vextar was so confident that he decided to begin the attack early. Why wait 24 hours when victory was certain? All ships prepare for atmospheric entry, he ordered. We will show these humans the futility of resistance. Begin descent in 2 hours. 2 hours was not much time, but for humans who had been preparing for 100 years, 2 hours was enough. Professor Han Bora sat in her office at Seoul National University. To anyone watching, she was just a mathematics professor grading papers. Her office looked normal. Books on shelves, a computer on her desk, pictures of her family on the walls. But Professor Han was actually one of Earth's most important military commanders. She controlled the quantum communication network that connected every hidden human facility around the world. Her mathematics research was actually the coordination system for humanity's secret defense forces. All stations report ready, she said, into what looked like an ordinary telephone. Earth Defense Force is at full combat readiness. The century of preparation is complete. The alien fleet had no idea what was waiting for them below. At exactly 14:23 Earth Standard Time, the Vorthan fleet entered Earth's atmosphere. 10,000 ships descended through the clouds like a metal storm. Their shields glowed bright blue as they pushed through the air toward major human cities. High Admiral Vextar watched from his command ship as Earth grew larger on his screens. The planet looked peaceful and green. Small white clouds drifted across blue oceans. It would be a nice addition to the Vorthan Empire. First wave, begin attack runs on military targets, Vextar ordered. His voice was calm and confident. This was going to be easier than conquering most worlds. The alien ships spread out across Earth's sky, some headed for North America, others toward Europe and Asia. Their weapons powered up with a deep humming sound that made the air vibrate. Captain Lee Jiho watched the aliens approach from his hidden space station. The new Seoul was invisible to their sensors, positioned perfectly above the Korean peninsula. Through his quantum communicator, he could hear reports from other hidden stations around the world. Beijing station reports alien, squadron approaching from the north. London, station has visual on enemy fleet formation. Tokyo, station confirms weapons lock on lead vessels. Lee Jiho took a deep breath. 100 years of human preparation were about to be tested in the next few minutes. He opened a secure channel to Earth Defense Command. This is Seoul Station. All systems green. Requesting permission to execute Dawn Protocol. Admiral Choi Hyun's voice came back immediately. Permission granted. All stations execute Dawn Protocol. Show them what humans can really do. At 14:24, exactly 67 seconds after the alien fleet entered Earth's atmosphere, Captain Lee Jiho spoke one word into his communicator. Sunrise. Across Earth, that single word triggered systems that had been hidden for decades. What happened next took the Vorthan completely by surprise. The first alien attack wave targeted what their sensors told them were missile defense sites. The Vorthan ships fired their plasma cannons at installations that looked like simple military bases. The human missiles launched exactly as predicted, flying straight toward the alien ships. General Crixon watched the human missiles approach his squadron. Pathetic, he said to his crew. These primitive weapons cannot even scratch our shields. The human missiles exploded harmlessly against the Vorthan energy shields. The alien ships continued their attack run without slowing down. Everything was going according to plan. Then the real defense systems activated. At 1425, Dr. Kim Nari pressed a single button in her underground laboratory. Quantum field generators that had been disguised as weather monitoring stations suddenly came online all across Earth. The generators had been built using alien technology that the Vorthan thought they had kept secret. The quantum fields hit the first wave of alien ships like an invisible hammer. The Vorthan shields, designed to stop energy weapons and physical attacks, had no defense against quantum disruption. One by one, the alien ships simply stopped working. "What is happening?" General Crixon shouted as his ship systems began failing. The lights went out. The engines died. Even his communication system went silent. His ship, along with 300 others in the first attack wave, began falling toward Earth like metal rain. Admiral Vextar stared at his sensors in disbelief. "How are they doing this? Our intelligence report said humans had no quantum technology." At 1426, Colonel Park Minho gave his order from the hidden command bunker beneath Seoul. "All stealth fighters decloak and engage. Time to show them our real air force." What the aliens had thought was empty sky suddenly filled with human aircraft. Fighters that had been invisible to sensors appeared around the alien ships like ghosts becoming solid. But these were not the simple jets that alien spies had observed. These were craft built with technology reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment. The stealth fighters moved impossibly fast, turning and diving in ways that should have killed their human pilots. Their weapons fired beams of pure energy that cut through alien hulls like paper. Within 60 seconds, 200 more alien ships were falling from the sky. Commander Ryu Take monitored the battle from his underwater command center. His screens showed alien ships dropping out of Earth's sky like autumn leaves. The century of preparation was working perfectly. Phase 2 activated, he reported to Admiral Choi Hyun. Orbital defense platforms coming online. At 1427, the Vorthan fleet received their third surprise. What they had cataloged as communication satellites and research stations suddenly revealed their true nature. Hidden weapons platforms that had been disguised as civilian installations opened fire with beam weapons more powerful than anything in the official human military. The orbital platforms had been positioned perfectly over the decades, creating overlapping fields of fire that covered every approach to Earth. There was nowhere for the alien ships to hide. General Kang Wubin coordinated the orbital attack from his war room. Each platform was controlled by quantum computers that could track thousands of targets simultaneously. The aliens had superior individual ships, but humans had superior coordination. "Target priority. Command vessels," Kang Wubin ordered. "Take out their leadership and the rest will be easier to handle." At 1428, Admiral Vextar realized his fleet was being systematically destroyed by weapons that should not have existed. His sensors were showing impossible things. Human ships that moved faster than physics allowed. Energy weapons that were more advanced than Vorthan technology. Defense systems that had been completely invisible until the moment they attacked. "This is impossible," he screamed at his staff. "Our intelligence was perfect. We studied them for a century." Dr. Yexrin was frantically checking his data. "Admiral, the humans are using technology that matches our own. Some of their weapons are actually superior to ours." "How can primitives have superior weapons?" Vextar demanded. The answer came at 1429 when Professor Han Bora activated the final phase of Earth's defense plan. Hidden ships that had been stationed throughout the solar system suddenly appeared behind the alien fleet. These were not the small fighters and orbital platforms the aliens had been fighting. These were full-sized warships that had been built in secret shipyards on the dark side of the moon and in the asteroid belt. They had been waiting for this moment, positioned to cut off any alien retreat. Captain Lee Jiho smiled as he watched the human fleet surround the aliens. The New Seoul space station was just one of dozens of hidden command ships that were now visible to alien sensors. Each station was armed with weapons that the Vorthan had never seen before. "This is Admiral Lee Jiho to all human forces," he broadcast on the command frequency. "The enemy is surrounded. Show them no mercy. They came here to destroy our world." The final minute of the battle was not really a battle at all. It was target practice. At 1429:30, the human fleet opened fire from all directions. The remaining alien ships found themselves trapped in a sphere of energy beams and missile fire. Their advanced shields and armor meant nothing against weapons designed specifically to counter Vorthan technology. Admiral Vextar's flagship tried to escape, but Commander Ryu Taik had positioned hunter-killer squadrons along every possible exit route. The alien command ship made it less than 1,000 kilometers before human interceptors caught up with it. "Admiral, our engines are failing," his navigation officer reported. "Hull breach on decks 7 through 15. We are losing atmosphere." At exactly 14:29:59, the last functional alien weapon went silent. Of the 10,000 ships that had entered Earth's atmosphere, fewer than a dozen were still capable of movement. The rest were either destroyed completely or floating dead in space. The battle for Earth had lasted exactly 6 minutes. Admiral Choi Hyun sat back in his command chair and allowed himself a small smile. "All stations cease fire. Begin recovery operations for alien survivors. We need prisoners for questioning." Around Earth, human ships moved carefully among the wreckage of the alien fleet. Some Vorthan ships had crashed on the planet's surface. Others drifted in orbit, their crews either dead or unconscious. Captain Lee Jiho looked out at the debris field that had been an invasion fleet just 6 minutes ago. "Communications, send a message to Earth Defense Command. Tell them the century of preparation was successful. Earth is secure." High Admiral Vexitar lay trapped in the wreckage of his command ship, 3 of his 4 arms broken, barely conscious. Through the smoke and sparks, he could see human rescue ships approaching. The impossible had happened. The primitives had defeated the most powerful fleet in Vorthan history. But how? As human soldiers cut through the hull of his ship to reach him, Vextar realized the terrible truth. For 100 years, the Vorthan had been watching humans and learning their secrets. But the humans had been watching back and learning Vorthan secrets. The hunters had become the hunted, and they had never even known it. 3 days after the 6-minute war, High Admiral Vextar woke up in a human medical facility. His body was wrapped in bandages and connected to machines he did not recognize. 2 of his arms were in casts. His head felt like it had been hit by a meteor. A human woman in a white coat was checking the machines beside his bed. She looked up when she saw his eyes open. "Good, you are awake," she said in perfect Vorthan language. "I am Dr. Park Sunny. I have been treating your injuries." Vextar tried to speak, but his throat was too dry. Dr. Park handed him a cup of water. The liquid tasted strange but helped his voice return. "How do you speak my language?" he asked weakly. "We have been learning Vorthan for nearly a century," Dr. Park replied. "Just like we learned everything else about your people." Before Vexitar could ask more questions, the door opened. A human man in a military uniform entered the room. Behind him came a woman carrying a datapad and recording device. "Admiral Vextar," the man said, also speaking perfect Vorthan, "I am General Kang Wubin of Earth Defense Command. This is Director Osunmi of the Global Deception Initiative. We need to talk." Director Osunmi pulled a chair next to the alien's bed. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but something about her made Vextar nervous. "You are wondering how we defeated your fleet so easily," she said. "You want to know how primitive humans had weapons superior to the Vorthan Empire. The answer is simple. We knew you were coming." "Impossible," Vextar whispered. "We hid our surveillance perfectly. Our probe ships looked like asteroids. Your people never detected them." Director O smiled. "Admiral, we detected your first probe ship within 6 hours of its arrival in our solar system. That was 99 years, 7 months, and 12 days ago." The alien's 4 eyes widened in shock. "You are lying. Our stealth technology is perfect." "Your stealth technology is very good," General Kang agreed. "But not perfect. Dr. Kim Nari discovered the quantum signature of your probe ships in 2026. She was just a graduate student then, working on her doctoral research in exotic matter detection." Director O activated her datapad. A holographic display appeared above the bed, showing images from nearly a century ago. The images showed human scientists studying what looked like ordinary space rocks. "Once we knew you were watching us, we had a choice," Director O explained. "We could reveal that we knew and start a war we were not ready for. Or we could let you keep watching while we prepared." "We chose to prepare," General Kang added. "And we chose to let you see exactly what we wanted you to see." Vextar's mind raced as he processed this information. "The humans we captured, they told us about Earth's defenses. They described your weapons and military capabilities." "Yes, they did," Director O nodded. Every single human your people captured was a volunteer. They underwent months of conditioning to ensure they would tell your interrogators exactly the right information. General Kang pulled out a chair and sat down. Commander Ryutek's father was one of those volunteers. He allowed himself to be captured during a fake mining accident in 2087. He spent 3 years in Vorthan custody, feeding your scientists false information about human psychology and technology. He died believing his sacrifice would save Earth, Director O added quietly. He never lived to see how right he was. The holographic display changed, showing images of human space missions from decades past. Vextar recognized some of them. His people had observed these missions and concluded that human space technology was primitive and limited. Those missions were theater, General Kang explained. We built fake spacecraft using deliberately outdated technology. We performed fake accidents so your probes could capture our people. We made sure every piece of equipment you found would support the illusion that humans were centuries behind Vorthan development. Director O leaned forward. Tell me, Admiral, in all your years of studying humans, did you ever wonder why we seemed to make no technological progress? Did it seem strange that our weapons and ships looked almost exactly the same in 2125 as they did in 2050? Vextar had wondered about that. Most species showed steady technological advancement over time, but humans seemed to have reached a plateau and stayed there. We made sure you saw stagnation, Director O continued. While our public technology remained intentionally static, our secret research advanced rapidly. Studying your probe ships taught us more about physics and engineering than we could have learned on our own in 500 years. The holographic display showed new images. These were from inside hidden human facilities that looked nothing like the simple military bases the Vorthan had catalogued. Advanced laboratories, massive construction facilities, weapon testing ranges that could have come from alien worlds. Every piece of Vorthan technology we recovered was studied, analyzed and improved upon, General Kang said. Your probe ships used quantum stealth fields. We learned to build better ones. Your weapons used plasma containment. We developed superior energy focusing systems. Professor Hanbora entered the room carrying a data tablet. She nodded politely to the alien prisoner. Admiral Vextar, I am Professor Hanbora. I designed the communication system that coordinated Earth's defense during your invasion. Another primitive human, Vextar said bitterly. Actually, I have 3 advanced degrees in quantum mathematics and xenotechnology integration, Professor Han replied cheerfully. I have been studying Vorthan science since I was 12 years old. She activated her tablet, and the holographic display changed again. This time it showed a map of Earth with thousands of small lights scattered across every continent. This is our real communication network, Professor Han explained. It uses quantum entanglement principles that your probe ships could not detect. Every human military installation has been connected through this network for 60 years. Vextar stared at the display. The network was incredibly sophisticated, far beyond anything the Vorthan had observed. Your people monitored our radio communications, Professor Han continued. You listened to our internet traffic and intercepted our satellite transmissions. But you never knew about the quantum network because we built it using technology reverse-engineered from your own probe ships. Director O stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human construction crews were working to clear debris from crashed alien ships. The work was proceeding much faster than should have been possible with primitive human technology. The hardest part was maintaining the deception, she said. For nearly a century, billions of humans had to live a lie. Our real military had to stay hidden while fake forces performed for your surveillance. Our scientists had to publish false research while conducting real experiments in secret. How did you coordinate such a massive deception? Vextar asked. Despite his anger, he was genuinely curious about the logistics. General Kang smiled. The same way humans have always accomplished impossible things. We worked together, he gestured to the window, where human and alien rescue workers could be seen helping injured survivors from both sides. Your psychological profiles of humans were partially correct, he continued. We are emotional. We do make decisions based on feelings, but you misunderstood what that means. We feel empathy, Director O added. That is why we spent resources saving your wounded instead of simply executing prisoners. But we also feel protective of our families and our world. That emotion drove us to spend a century preparing for a war we hoped would never come. Professor Han brought up another holographic display. This one showed the timeline of human technological development over the past 100 years. The public timeline showed slow, steady progress. The classified timeline showed advancement that rivaled the Vorthan Empire. We unified our entire planet in secret, she explained. Every nation contributed resources and research. We shared technology freely among ourselves while keeping it hidden from you. Countries that had been enemies for centuries worked together to prepare Earth's defense. Vextar looked at the data with growing amazement. You maintained this deception for 100 years, across billions of people, without a single leak. There were leaks, General Kang admitted, but we expected them. Anyone who tried to reveal the truth publicly was quietly recruited into the program, or discredited in ways that made them look crazy. We even wrote fiction about alien invasions, Director O added, movies, books, television shows. When someone claimed that Earth was secretly preparing for alien attack, people thought they had been watching too much science fiction. The alien admiral lay back against his pillow, overwhelmed by the scope of human deception. Your entire civilization was an act. Everything we observed was false. Not false, Professor Han corrected. Selective. We showed you our entertainment, our art, our culture. Those things were real. We showed you our capacity for compassion and our desire for peace. That was real too. But we did not show you our capacity for warfare, General Kang added. We did not show you what humans become when our families are threatened. Director O returned to her chair. Admiral, your people conquered 47 worlds before attempting to invade Earth. Did you ever wonder why those other species gave up so easily? Vextar had wondered about that. Most alien species surrendered after seeing the Vorthan fleet arrive. They seemed to understand that resistance was hopeless. Those species were rational, she continued. They calculated their chances of victory. 1 week after the invasion, High Admiral Vextar was moved to a different facility. This one was not a medical center, but a meeting room in what the humans called the Global Command Center in New Geneva. The building looked simple from the outside, but Vextar had learned not to trust what things looked like. The room had a large table surrounded by chairs. Windows showed a view of mountains and green forests. It seemed peaceful, almost friendly. But the alien admiral knew he was still a prisoner of war. President Kim Dae-ho entered the room first. He was a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. Behind him came several other humans that Vextar recognized from intelligence files. General Kang Wubin, Director Oh Sunmi, and Admiral Choi Hyun all took seats around the table. Captain Lee Ji-ho, now wearing the uniform of an admiral, sat across from the alien. Dr. Kim Nari placed a datapad on the table and activated a holographic display. Professor Han Bora sat quietly with her hands folded, watching everything. Admiral Vextar, President Kim began, speaking in the alien's language. We need to discuss the future. Vextar looked around the table at the human faces. Some looked tired. Others seemed sad. A few appeared angry. But none looked like the weak, emotional primitives his people had expected to conquer. What future? Vextar asked bitterly. My fleet is destroyed. My people think I am dead. The Vorthan Empire will send another fleet to avenge this defeat. Will they? Admiral Lee Ji-ho asked. Tell me, Admiral, how long will it take the Empire to build another fleet of 10,000 ships? Vextar calculated quickly. 15 years, perhaps 20. The Empire has many shipyards, but vessels of that size require time to construct properly. And how long will it take them to realize your fleet has been defeated? Dr. Kim Nari asked. The fleet was supposed to send regular reports, Vextar admitted. When those reports stop coming, the Empire will investigate. Perhaps 6 months before they send scout ships to learn what happened. President Kim nodded. So we have at least 2 years before the Empire knows Earth successfully defended itself. And 15 to 20 years before they can mount another invasion. That is time we intend to use wisely, Director Oh Sunmi said. The holographic display activated, showing a map of the galaxy. Dozens of star systems were marked with different colored lights. Vextar recognized many of them as worlds the Vorthan Empire had conquered. These are the 47 species your empire has enslaved, Professor Han explained. We have been studying your historical records from captured ships. Some of these species were conquered only recently. Others have been under Vorthan rule for centuries. What does that matter? Vextar asked. They are conquered. They serve the Empire now. Admiral Choi Hyun leaned forward. Admiral, What do you think would happen if those enslaved worlds learned that someone had defeated the Vorthon Empire? What if they learned that the mighty Vorthon fleet lasted only 6 minutes against a determined defense? For the first time since his capture, Vextar felt genuine fear. The Empire's power depended on the belief that Vorthon military might was unstoppable. If that belief was shattered, "You would not dare," he whispered. "We would not dare do what?" President Kim asked calmly. "Tell the truth about what happened here. Share the technology we used to defeat your fleet. Help other worlds prepare their own defenses." General Kang activated a different display. This one showed human ships moving through space toward distant star systems. The ships were not warships but communication vessels, carrying messages and technology to alien worlds. "We have already begun," he said simply. Dr. Kim Nari touched her data pad, and the display changed to show responses from alien worlds. Messages of hope, gratitude, and requests for assistance filled the screen. 17 species have already requested to join what they are calling the Earth Defense Alliance, she reported. They want to learn how to build quantum disruption weapons. They want to establish hidden communication networks like ours. They want to prepare for the day when Vorthon ships appear in their skies. Vextar stared at the display in horror. "You are destroying the Empire." "No," President Kim replied. "You are destroying the Empire. By choosing conquest over cooperation, the Vorthon have created enemies across the galaxy. We are simply giving those enemies hope and the tools to defend themselves." Admiral Lee Jiho opened a folder and pulled out several documents. "These are reports from our intelligence ships. The Zephyrian system has already begun construction of quantum field generators based on designs we shared with them. The Altarian worlds are establishing a hidden defense network. The Epsilon colonies are training secret military forces. In 5 years, when the Vorthon Empire tries to collect tribute from these worlds, they will face the same surprise you faced here," Director O added. "Planets they thought were helpless will suddenly reveal advanced defenses." Professor Han stood up and walked to the window. "Admiral, your people studied humans for a century and learned the wrong lessons. You saw our diversity and concluded we were divided. You saw our emotions and thought we were weak. You saw our entertainment and art and decided we were frivolous." She turned back to face the alien prisoner. "But diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. Different perspectives help us solve problems in ways that uniform thinking cannot. Emotions give us the motivation to fight for what we love. Art and entertainment help us imagine possibilities that pure logic would never consider." President Kim stood up as well. "The Vorthon Empire conquered other worlds by demonstrating overwhelming force. You showed up with huge fleets and demanded surrender. It worked because those other species were rational. They saw they could not win and chose survival. But humans are not always rational," General Kang continued. "When something we love is threatened, we will find ways to fight even when victory seems impossible. And we had something those other species did not have. Time," Dr. Kim Nari finished. 100 years to prepare. 100 years to study your technology, learn your weaknesses, and develop countermeasures. 100 years to unite our world in secret while maintaining the illusion of primitive vulnerability." Vextar looked around the table at the human faces. These people had orchestrated the greatest military deception in galactic history. They had turned the Vorthon Empire's own surveillance against them, feeding false information for a century while secretly preparing for war. "What do you want from me?" he asked finally. "Information," President Kim replied. "Technical specifications for Vorthon ships and weapons, military protocols and communication codes, details about Empire fleet movements and strategic plans." "I will never betray the Empire," Vextar said firmly. "You already have," Admiral Lee Jiho pointed out. "By failing in your invasion, you have given other worlds hope. By losing your entire fleet in 6 minutes, you have proven that the Vorthon can be defeated." Director O activated another display. This one showed news broadcasts from across the galaxy. The news was spreading faster than anyone had expected. The story of Earth's victory was inspiring oppressed worlds everywhere. "The question now is not whether the Empire will fall," she said. "The question is how quickly it will happen, and how many lives will be lost in the process. If you help us understand Vorthon military doctrine, we can share that information with other worlds," President Kim explained. "They can prepare better defenses. When the Empire tries to reconquer them, fewer people will die. And if you refuse to help," General Kang added, "those worlds will still fight. They will just be less prepared and more likely to lose." Vextar closed his 4 eyes and thought about his options. The empire he had served faithfully for decades was doomed. These humans had made sure of that. The only question was whether he could help reduce the bloodshed that would follow. "If I provide this information," he said slowly, "what happens to me?" "You will live," President Kim promised. "Earth does not execute prisoners of war. You will be comfortable and well treated. When the fighting is over, you can choose whether to return to what remains of the empire or seek asylum here." "And my crew? The other survivors from my fleet?" "Same terms," Admiral Choi Hyun replied. "We are not interested in revenge. We want peace." Dr. Kim Nari leaned forward. "Admiral, your people conquered 47 worlds by force. In the process, you created 47 reasons for those worlds to hate the Empire. Now they have hope that resistance is possible. The Vorthan Empire is going to fall whether you help us or not," Professor Han added. "You can help ensure that fall happens with minimal bloodshed, or you can watch from a prison cell as the galaxy burns." Vexitar opened his eyes and looked at each human face around the table. These people had spent a century preparing for war, but they were offering mercy to their enemies. They had the power to destroy what remained of his fleet's survivors, but they chose healing instead. "What kind of species are you?" he asked quietly. President Kim smiled. "We are humans, Admiral. We can be the most compassionate beings in the galaxy, or the most dangerous enemies you could ever face. The choice of which you encounter has always been yours. Your empire chose to threaten our families and our world," Admiral Lee Jiho said. "So you met the dangerous humans, but now the war is over. Now you can meet the compassionate ones."